Hi everyone, Jackson here. Welcome to what I think I'm just going to call how Jacko does things. I'm not sure. I don't want to call these guides because, they're not. I wouldn't really say I'm good at guides themselves. Like this is not going to be as much how to do things well. It's just how I do things well. So I know not everyone's going to sort of find this the best way, because everyone's different. But the point I'm trying to make is there's so many guides out there, right? Like for especially for shit like this, like XP grinding. I mean, there's so much stuff. But I just had a good friend tell me, say that, because I've been saying that for a while. Like why should I make stuff like this when there's like so much out there? But a friend of mine told me that when you watch content, most people partly watch it for the content and partly watch it for the people. So it seems that people like the way I do things sometimes. So, why not see how this goes? So, I don't know, maybe people might really like this, maybe not. So, it's worth a try. So this is going to be a guide on, or not really a guide. It's how I level my characters. So from basically level 10 to level 50, how I sort of get them through the levels. So 1 to 10 is a bit different. I start off just like basically going for a bunch of sky shards and that. But like 10 to 50 is sort of like the meat of it. It's kind of easy to get to level 10. Like it does not take a lot. Whereas especially like the 30s to 50s, that takes fucking forever. So I have this like very specific way I do it. It's not the fastest, but for me, it's the most convenient. Like it doesn't really require a lot of effort. The most amount of effort you're going to have to go to really is like doing 1 dungeon a day. And this is only really something I use during double XP events. Like for example, at the moment it's the Witch Mothers event. It's just started, so okay, for some reason I can't hit this. There you go. So yeah, one thing to start off with. Yeah, I only use this in double XP events. I don't really think it's worth your time trying to farm XP in this game on characters like hardcore, unless there's like a double XP event. Normally what I do is just outside of double XP events I just quest, and it's like really easy to do. But then like when double XP events, that's when I go nuts. So this is a build that basically you do a dungeon, you pop a scroll at the very end, and then you spam Dolmens for like an hour while the XP scroll is up. And it basically uses stuff that makes Dolmens give you quite a bit of XP. And the reason I use Dolmens compared to other stuff is, like, even if there's a lot of people at a Dolmen, the spawns are like, the enemies don't spawn based on time, they spawn based on like the Dolmen itself. So you'll find that the amount of enemies that spawn and the ability you'll have to kill them, you're not really competing that much with other players as you are with like some locations for like XP grinding. For example, Spellscar. Those enemies don't just like spawn at a Dolmen like constantly. They take a while to respawn, and like usually there's like so many people there when I try and do it, it's just not worth like trying to like compete with other people. Whereas Dolmens is like, I don't know, it's a lot more relaxed. Like so many people can be there just like attacking enemies, and you still get quite a bit of XP. So yeah, I just personally prefer that. And everyone should know by now, like random normal XP is crazy. So yeah, I queue for a random normal. Particularly myself as a tank, though these days I find the random normal queues aren't as bad as they used to be, even on like a damage dealer. And so I run through the dungeon. I don't use my scroll until the end, because sometimes sometimes you get disconnected, and like sometimes the group just like shits itself or whatever. So it's like the amount of XP you get from the dungeon itself is kind of shit, but the 100k XP, or like the massive amount you get for the random normal completion, is like ridiculous. So the idea is just make sure your scroll is active as the as the final boss dies, because that's when you get your mad XP. And obviously that it also helps with the quest XP as well, if you complete a quest in the dungeon for the first time. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. So this it doesn't matter what class or race you use. This is usable on anything. The only real thing that will change is like the skills that you use as class skills. I tend to use one of each, mainly because it's not necessary. It's just the way I like to have my XP bars up here. I like to have them equal, so that I just have one of each class skill on the bars, so that once one hits level 50, all 3 hit level 50, and at that point it doesn't matter what class skills you use where. At that point you've got all the XP you need to have those class skills sorted. Now you will hit like level 43-ish in your class skills when you hit level 50, so you do have to farm a little bit further to get those sorted, but level 50 is kind of the annoying bit, like being able to farm the rest of that, like, because as soon as you hit level 50, if you've got over 160 CP, you just run straight to the like max level. It's a lot more simple. But yeah, so but yeah, it doesn't matter what class or what race you use. This is usable, or it's like compatible with anything. So that's kind of the point I make with these builds. They can be. It doesn't matter what you're running. It always works. Now, Munda Stone is the easy bit. The Thief, you can use Atronach. I do use Atronach early on sometimes, because in the early game you don't have any passives in like armor that reduces the cost of stuff. For example, like light armor has grace, so it reduces the cost of this one here. Sorry, evocation, reduces the cost of your abilities. So your sustain is really bad in the early game, whereas your damage tends to be really good. So sometimes it's nice to run Atronach, but like you really can't go wrong with a Thief. Like extra crit, it's just really good at no matter what you're doing, basically. Like it might not be meta in all circumstances. Like Lover might be better, especially in the early game, because you've got no physical penetration. But like, oh sorry, it's physical spell pen. But Thief is just like good no matter what you're doing. So yeah, I just recommend just using that. And then next up we've got, I'll talk about the equipment. So we've got, I run 2 main sets and then just like a 2-piece of another set. So part of like most of this, like the armor sets that you use don't really matter too much, but there is one controlled variable that you need to constantly keep on, and that is Heartland Conqueror. This is the best training, like leveling set in the game, because what it does is increases the effectiveness of your weapon trait by double. So training is affected by this. Also infuse is affected by this, which is really good. So training is the main reason we use this. With training you just get more XP from kills. Now this is not really that relevant in dungeons, because the amount of XP you get from kills in dungeons is really not that significant, and the actual random normal that you do, the XP you gain from this is not affected by training. So dungeons is not that relevant, but when it comes to Dolmens, this thing is absolutely killer. It basically, in Dolmens, the completion of the dolmen doesn't count, because that's not anything related to killing, but the rest of it is great, because most of the XP you're going to get from dolmens is going to be from kills, tapping enemies and then getting some kill XP from when they die. This is really good for that. So I definitely recommend this for what you're running. So I run 3 weapon types. I run Greatsword on the Vakra. It isn't too relevant which type you run here, but I prefer to run Greatsword, just because of it. I'll explain it when I get to the skills themselves, because it's more relevant for the skills itself. But the front 2, an Inferno and a Restoration Staff. The Inferno Staff I use in dungeons, and then the Restoration Staff I use solely for either if I get into like something difficult, like for example if I'm level 45 plus and I get into a DLC dungeon, because I'm tanking with light armor, I get absolutely wrecked, so it might be a good idea to just have like a restoration ability or 2 to like help yourself stay alive, because those things can be difficult. Other than that, I just use Inferno in dungeons. But Restoration Staff is amazing for Dolmens, because the Restoration Staff projectile speed is like almost instant. It's like a laser beam. So the reason that's really good is when you tap enemies, like the travel time of the attacks is almost instant, even though they're like across the other side of the Dolmen. So it just means that you can tap many enemies at once with this thing really quickly and just get tons of kill XP from like having damaged many enemies. In Dolmens, it's all about quantity, it's not quality. Tiny little bits of damage on every enemy is going to be way better than getting a lot of damage on a single enemy. And then the rest, I use Julianos. You can just run Order's Wrath or any good crafted set. Twice-Born Star is actually interesting because no matter how much you outlevel the set, the Munderstones do not change. So Twice-Born Star is actually kind of interesting because that means that you like the 5-piece is actually just like Heartland Conqueror, where it no matter what level you are, the effect is actually maximum. So like the effect doesn't change depending on level, but the rest of Twice-Born Star is not great. So yeah, and getting this thing is fucking painful. Like 9 traits, man. It takes ages to get. So yeah, I totally understand if people don't want to deal with that. And obviously, if you want to have Heartland Conqueror Jury, you need to get someone either to craft it or have Somerset yourself. It's a bit painful, but having Swift Heartland Conqueror, like Swift increase your movement speed, really good for Dolmens, getting around, tapping, like getting to the enemies you need to tap. If you can find someone just to make you a level 1 set of Heartland Conqueror Jury, just these 3, it is well worth it. Probably one of the most worth it things to have, if you really want to make like a good number of characters to do a bunch of different stuff. So yeah, I would just run 5-piece Julianos, 1-piece innate or 2-piece innate Axiom on the weapons. You can run whatever you want here, it doesn't really matter. I just prefer the extra weapon and spell damage from innate Axiom. But you can run anything. You can run a 2-piece that gives you regen, 2-piece that gives you extra magicka, crit chance, doesn't matter, whatever. Just personal preference there. And yeah, Swift on the Jury, I explained that. The enchants... Oh, sorry. Traits on the armor, I'll talk about that. So training. Everything is training. And preferably get your armor as high quality as it can go, up to purple. I wouldn't recommend gold because it's just super expensive. But the higher quality the armor, the more XP that you get from kills each time. I think it goes up by 1% per armor piece. Same with the weapons. You want to have them, like, the weapons should be purple at least. Because the weapons matter the most. These affect your damage the most. What else is there? So, oh yeah, so qualities. Yeah, levels. So, I swap out all my gear at every 10 levels. So I have a level 10 set, a level 20 set that I've got on. I've got a level 30 set and a level 40 set. The weapons are something I do a bit different. I know I've got 40 and 46 here. What I would recommend for the weapons, because the way that like sort of the levels, it's like the sort of level, like low level power scaling that you get, like it increases your damage at lower levels a little bit to make up for the fact that you just like don't have many passes. Later on, you'll feel I find that you feel a bit weaker, so I have my weapons at 10, 20, 30, 36, 40, and then 44, so that in the later stages I have a bit more like consistent damage. Because I find later on, especially at like level 45 to 50, I find that character just feels really weak in comparison. So I like to have a bit more damage in those stages just to make up for it. Because the higher you go in your levels, the weaker your stuff gets until you get it back to your current level. And you don't really want to be making sets for every single like 2 levels. That's just going to be absolute chaos. So yeah, I just go every 10 levels, except for weapons, in which it's like 10, 20, 30, 36, 40, 44, and then just nothing else after that. Now, something other to keep in mind is when you get to level 15, you do get one of the rewards that you get is a new weapon. And with this one, I go Greatsword, and I just put that on the back bar and just use that and until level 20, and then I just replace with the Greatsword. You can just have a level 16 Greatsword if you want, but yeah, just make it too complicated, I think. Because yeah, you do get this, and that's fine. And then consumables. Now I don't really use potions, because when you're leveling, potions like all spawn at different levels. Like when you pick them up, like every I think 4 or 5 levels, there's like a different potion type that you get, and you'll just. The problem is when you put potions in your quick slots, you have to constantly swap them out for the new ones that you get, and it's just too much work. It just clutters up your inventory and shit. So I just sell that sort of stuff. The only ones I would really use are the crown ones. There's like the bound crown ones that you get from leveling, and then you've also just got like the regular crown tri restoration. Like these are great for leveling because 1, you get fucking millions of these things from the monthly rewards, and 2, they scale with your level, so they're always going to be helpful. Whereas the ones that you pick up, like they don't scale to your level, so it's just counterproductive. And then food and drink, there's quite a couple that I recommend. Probably the one I'd recommend the most is Ghastly Eyeball, especially early game. This one just increases your max magicka and magicka recovery. I am running a magicka build. I would recommend doing this because there's a lot of skills in the early game that scale off magicka that will do better to heal you. You do have vigor for stamina, but like for this to really have an effect, you have to cast it every 5 seconds. It's just a lot of active work. I do have it on my bar, but like most of my sort of passive healing comes from things like Swallow Soul and like Malevolent Offering's pretty good too, because you can get Healthy Offering that increases your healing done. Basically, all classes have like a skill that can just like passively heal you with magicka morphs. So I just prefer magicka for the early game. You can run like you don't have to run like a Inferno Staff on your front bar. You can run like Dual Wield if you want to level that for when you max out the character with medium armor. And also I do run a bit of medium to level that up too. So I use mostly light, but a little bit of medium and a little bit of heavy, because then you get the XP up on all that. But yeah, Ghastly Eyeball's great. Red Fothgar's really good. Also, if you're doing one of those like DLC dungeons I was talking about before, like the tough ones, because you get a ton of health and you still get heaps of magical recovery, which I think is better than max magicka in those cases. Witch Mothers is a sort of mix between the two. This is also kind of good, but I find the middle ground isn't as good. You either go full damage or just like full survivability, I think is better. There is also these two. So you've got Sanguine Apples, which increase your magicka by tons. This is great for damage, but not great for sustain, and you're going to really struggle with sustain on like lower level builds, I think. And then you've basically got the same thing, but it increases your max stamina and max magicka. So I actually don't mind this because I run tanks in random normals just to make the Q pop really quick. And some of the best the tanking skill I run that makes it really easy in the early game uses stamina. So I just like to have a lot more stamina to deal with that. But that's also why I run Greatsword, right? So there's a skill that I use called Silver Leash. So in order to get this, you have to level up Fighter's Guild a bit. Just do some Dolmens first before you do dungeons, and then you get Silver Bolts. You morph. You do a couple more Dolmens, you get it to Silver Leash, and it's a taunt, right? So pulls in this game are a taunt. Now there are some class skills that you can get that do the same thing, but this is a like I was talking about with the it works on any class, any race. This works on any class, so this is the one I prefer using, just because it no matter what you're using, it's always going to be useful and available to you, even in base game. So yeah, and that's the reason I run Greatsword on the back bar, because one, Greatsword is a two-handed weapon, so your enchant isn't affected, because if you have dual wield, you have two different enchants and it just makes one weaker, whereas you want this enchant to be two-handed because it's stronger. And then Greatswords also have a really quick heavy attack. Means you can quickly get stamina back and then be able to cast this if you don't have any stamina. I just prefer it that way, because bow has a slow heavy attack. One-handed shield doesn't have as much offensive strength, and also doesn't have a powerful enchant. You also can't proc it constantly, whereas you can with Stampede, which is why I use that. And yeah, aside from okay. So on a Slicey Honey Tea, if you want to use this to grind CP. This is also, honestly, a decent option. It's really easy to make and gives you magicka and stamina recovery. It's like two things you tend to use a lot in Dolmen farming. But yeah, you can't use it at low level, just keep that in mind. This is like something else on the side. I do basically use the same thing for my max level Dolmen farming build. I don't even do a Dolmen for that. I don't even do a dungeon, sorry, for that. You can if you want, but I don't even bother with that. Because sometimes you get DLC dungeons, it's painful. So in that case, all I do, instead of these, I run Heartland Conqueror on the weapons at max level, and just use monster sets. You can either use a normal monster set, or use 2 different pieces, like Vulcan and like Ice Heart or something for crit and stuff. But yeah, that's more personal preference there. So that's all the symbols, that stuff. Talked about the weapons. Yeah, that should be everything worth talking about here. So before you get your dungeons started, like before you start doing dungeons, either you just run a damage build, and instead of this, just run something else. I don't know, like just another maybe 2-handed ability, or if you can bother with scribing early game, you could do that. Yeah, there's not really much else to run early game. Like usually I'd run Cleave at this point and morph that to Carve, because it's another damage over time effect. Could also run Uppercut if you want to get Major Berserk, but yeah, it's a stamina skill, so maybe not. You can just run like another class skill if you don't care about the having all the things the same level. That's just something I do. Like Cripple's really good for Nightblades. Like any damage stuff is really good. But it's just I don't know. Maybe I have minor OCD and I like to keep these the same. All right, so yeah. So as I was talking about before you do dungeons, either have your build set up for a damage build and join the queue, or just do Dolmens for like maybe, I think that's probably like 20 minutes worth, getting your fighter skill sorted until level 2, and then you'll get Silver Leash, and then you just do some more Dolmens or farm some get some other XP sources until you get Silver Leash. It will take a little bit, especially early game, because it like getting Silver Bolts up at max level is really fast, because the XP required is like flat. It's not dependent on level, but early game it can take some time. But it's probably like 10 Dolmens maximum. So especially right now with double XP, it'll be really quick. So it's probably about 5 or 6. So yeah, definitely recommend that. And once you've got that sorted, once you're ready to go, because like other than that, like the builds works just fine for dungeons. So once you got that sorted, you want to go through, have like, I've got a bunch of consumables in here, and I just hold on to my scrolls, right? So you got these 3 scrolls here. So these are the 3. You've also got like Gold Coast normal experience scrolls, which are like these for 1 hour. But you've got the 3 sort of main ones. You've got the 50% normal scrolls, you've got the major 100% scrolls, and then you've got the grand 150% XP scrolls. This is the one you use for like the dungeon dolmen running. And yeah, I only use this one in double XP events. I don't think it's worth it using anywhere else. Maybe if you're going to do that like Black Rose Prison crazy like 1 hour XP smash out, but those are very expensive. I wouldn't expect most of the community to be willing to do that sort of thing. It's like millions of gold per hour for that. Major ones I tend to use mostly for if I want to get tons of CP from Dolmens really quick, or like level up a character's skills during double XP. I only really use these 2 in double XP events. That's probably why I've got so many still. And then this one is used for other stuff like questing, and just like other duties basically. So yeah. So yeah, that's everything to do with the actual build. Oh yes, champion points. Sorry, that's the last thing. So obviously, if you're like leveling your very first character, you won't have any champion points, and it will be a little bit more of a struggle for you, especially in dungeons. But it should be mostly okay. Like having vigor on your back bar and on your front bar, and like having a couple of heals will make it pretty good. But yeah, so champion points. Probably only one that really matters early game is Steed's Blessing for the extra, like being able to run everywhere quicker is good. Gifted Rider is also great because you can get to Dolmens a little bit quicker. If you mounted, that is. But yeah, both of these really help for getting to Dolmens quicker, because running to them can be a bit of a pain if you don't have a very fast steed. And then everything else is more preference. Treasure Hunter might be good for dungeons if you find chests and you want to collect sets from them. But other than that, I just use these two, because sometimes you'll find stuff on the way while you're either questing or doing Dolmens. Like you'll find maybe Columbine alchemy plants and stuff. So it's good to be able to pick those quicker and get a chance at more of them. Breakfall is pretty good because the reduced fall damage. Wanderer is pretty good because you can travel to Wayshrines for less cost. Gilded Fingers is really good because it just increases your gold gain, so that's probably one of the ones I'd also recommend. Nothing else really matters too much here, I think. You can get Rationer and Liquid Efficiency if you want to spend less on potions and food and stuff. But it's not really recommended. Oh, it's not really, not as much recommended. It's not something you need to do. In most cases, Wrathful Strikes, Fighting Finesse, Deadly Aim, and Master at Arms will be your 4 actives here. And then just get, what I usually do is just get these 2, Precision, Eldritch Insight, start with these 2, go Piercing for extra pen, and then yeah, focus on these 4. What I would do is start with probably Wrathful Strikes, because there's 5 different like sort of points there, and then I'd worry about these 3 here. You can use Backstabber if you're a damage dealer, but you're not always going to be behind enemies, so it's not super helpful, I don't think. Yeah, Deadly Aim for single target, Master at Arms for direct damage, because you have a lot of direct damage with most builds. Now you can run Thaumaturge in some builds, like for example Templars make good use of this, because one of their best skills is a spammable damage over time effect, basically, or a channeled effect. Same with Biting Aura, it just depends on the classes. If you really want to worry about that, you can look up Skinny Cheeks, and he tells you which ones work best on each class. But if you've got these 4, generally you're not really going to go wrong. You've also got this one if you want a bit more penetration, because it increases based on stats effects, and stats effects is something that gets applied a lot. All of these things in here are pretty good, but I'd worry about piercing first, and then focus on this quick recovery, and then preparation. Preparation especially is amazing. It basically gives you major protection at all times in PvE content. That is like super fucking good. And then these 2 are pretty good too, because they give you a bit more damage reduction. But this one especially, this is the big one. This is the big kahuna. And then red is more like sustain and like a bit of mobility as well. So you start here and you start here. So I get Sprinter, get Celerity for a bit of extra movement speed. Same with Hasty, a bit of extra movement speed. Hero's Vigor for a bit of max health. Same with Boundless Vitality for a bit of max health. Always helpful. I run Softening Spells, because whenever you kill an enemy, you get a ton of magicka back. Really helpful for your sustain, especially early on, when you don't have much. And then I go Tumbling, Defiance for stamina sustain, for like most stuff. Like you're going to be roll dodging and breaking free a lot. And then Slippery allows you to break free for no cost once every 21 seconds. Obviously, this sort of is counterproductive with this, but at the same time, having both is good, right? So like free break frees every 21 seconds. That's like, I only really have to break free once every 21 seconds usually. So yeah, this one's just amazing. But yeah, if not, you can go Fortified, you can go Rejuvenation for extra regen. You could go... could probably go Bloody Renewal as well. Does the same thing as Softening Spells, but for stamina. Could go shields reduce cost, or damage increase the amount shields protect. Things like that. It just look through here, see what works for you. There's also a Refreshing Stride, gives you magic recovery whenever you're sprinting, which is actually pretty damn good sometimes. But yeah, this one's personal preference. Preferably, I use extra health, break free for no cost, bit of movement speed, and then extra magicka on kills. But yeah, again, it's your call. Do not discount this stuff either, though. Reducing the cost of block and reducing the damage you take while blocking. Also increasing your movement speed while blocking, also great. These two don't matter as much, but they're also, yeah, you basically want to go this, this, and then this, and then this, and then focus on these two. These two are just afterthought. So yeah, that's champion points done. So that's basically everything to talk about with this build. So now I will showcase what I usually do with Dolmens and with dungeons. Let's go. Alright, so before I begin talking about Dolmens, just one more last thing to go through. With the skills, I'm going to be putting in the description a sort of build. It's on Build Factory. They're just like sort of builds that show you all the skills and stuff. I will put one for each class based on what I would personally use in there, and I'll put all the skills here. And if you got any questions about any of them in specific, just let me know. But I'll go through some basic stuff on each of them to explain like why I use them. But like very little information. It's basically you just have like a spamful skill, and then just like whatever class skills sort of benefit dungeons or Dolmens, or ones you'll generally use most of the time in PvE is what I tend to use here. But yeah, it's entirely up to you. Just basically as long as I always have one of each of these, and then some weapon ones and some other stuff. Okay, so Dolmens, I'll talk about them first, because generally you're going to want to do a couple of these before you get Dolmens. You can do them early on, but I do it for Silver Leash so I can tank properly. So the very first thing I suggest doing is getting here to this way shrine that you start with, and just going on a bit of a magical journey all through here, getting this way shrine for this dolmen, going up here, maybe getting Skywatch as well, because that way shrine's kind of useful. Coming up here, getting this way shrine, coming all the way up here and getting this way shrine so you have access to this dolmen. So you've got access to all three dolmens to use for this, because this is the zone I personally use. Now, Alikir Desert is the zone that everyone uses more, but I find Alikir Desert is a little too busy for me. In double XP events, Alikir is absolutely nuts. I find that it's actually too many people, but whereas Auradon's usually got like a lot of people, but not a crazy amount. Like things don't die before you can even look at them in Auradon generally. Like maybe prime time on weekends it'll be ridiculous too, but like not very often I find. And if you're really struggling, there's also Deshan. You can try that one. This one, there's not that many people either. Like there's a few, especially on prime time. But yeah, this one's generally the one I use if I just want to focus, like if I want to be able to do it on my own, because it's not as good as like having a couple of people that increase the because the more people at a dolmen, the more enemies spawn. So you want to have a couple of people at least, so that all the enemies spawn at once, because I find you get a little more XP that way. But there's nothing wrong with just doing dolmens on your own, because you still get a ton of XP. Because it feels like, I feel like the more, like the less people around to kill all the enemies, the more XP I tend to get. I'm not sure. It's a bit of a weird system, but basically, you can't really go wrong with Auradon, I think. Alright, so we want to make sure we have the restoration staff, because this thing is amazing for dolmens. If there's not many people, you can just go destruction staff, or whatever you want to use on your front bar. But I think when there's a lot of people, restoration staff is better, because enemies die very quickly and you want to be able to tap them very quick. Alright, so just as soon as you get here, everything you can see that has a red health bar or a red outline, just tap it. Remember, quantity over quality. You want to be hitting as many things as possible a little bit. So hit that, hit that, hit that. Hit this one, hit this one, hit this one, hit this one. Now try to prioritize the little ones, because they give very similar amounts of XP, but the little ones die much quicker, so you'll miss out on hitting them if you focus on the big ones first. The big ones take longer to kill. And by the big ones I mean like the dangerous foes, the ones with like more health, and like the ones with like the little diamonds around there. These ones, the ones with like diamonds around their health bar. Those are dangerous foes. I call them like tier 1 enemies, but the game calls them dangerous foes. Alright, so here you want to hit the sky a couple of times, wait for these things to spawn, and try and get as many of these guys too if you can, because you will get a lot more XP having kill participation on the 6 little enemies than you will with the big guy. The only thing you get right now is the Plunder Skull for the XP of the Halloween event, which I personally don't value too much, but I know other people will. Okay, so once you've done that, there's 2 ways. So you can go back the normal way. If you've got a fast mount though, you can go over here, skip this one, and this gets you to this way shrine quicker. And then we go up here. Just go straight at the way shrine. Now I prefer to be on the bar that Silverleash is on when the Dolmen completes, because you get the XP for the 2-handed weapon, for the Silverleash ability, because that's what you're trying to get XP for early on. Later on, it doesn't matter too much, but because you're using the resto bar a lot more when you're killing stuff, you'll get a lot more XP for that side, so it just balances out it a little bit. Okay, so tap these guys first because they're the weaker ones, hit this guy later. And you can also bash enemies. Bash is like a really quick close range damage ability that it's like an alternate thing from your light attacks and your abilities. So you can use 3 different things. You can use an ability, you can use bash, and you can use light attack. So you can light attack this one, light attack this one, attack this one, light attack bash, light attack, light attack, light attack, light attack. Any time you see like a big meteor crash onto the ground, that's another enemy spawning. Bash that one. Light attack bash. Light attack bash. Do you see what I mean with the restoration stuff? How quickly the missiles come out? Like you see the damage numbers so early on. And yeah, so if you're not familiar with Dolmens, just make sure all these pinions are down, and that's what causes the boss to spawn. I want to get this one morphed soon. That's not interesting. Go for these guys, hit these ones, bash, light attack bash. And yeah, I put a ground dot over where these ones are so that it hits all 3 of them very quickly. Ground dots are really good, that's why I want to get Path of Darkness leveled up. You want to get your class's ground AoE dot, and you put your class AoE dot here, and then I use Stampede over here so it hits those enemies as well. So you've got 2 sources of AoE damage that are just hitting them very quickly. Because like I said, you get way more XP from killing those from the main boss. The only thing the main boss really matters for, I think, is getting the 2 tickets for your Halloween daily at the moment. Now we go back to this one. Now if you've got a fast mount, you can jump over this, but if you miss the jump, it can be a bit weird. I pressed spacebar there and it didn't work. Same thing, hit this guy. 1, 2, there's always 6 worm cultists here, so try and hit all of them if you can. Because they give you a fair bit of XP too. Same thing, tap, 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 tap. Try and prioritize the little ones first. Tap, bash, tap. Yeah, there's a big one there. So yeah, this dolmen in Oridon tends to be the most populated, because it's right next to the Vocal Guard, so everyone comes from there to help with this one. So this one's a lot more populated. This one especially is good with Restoration Staff. Him, yeah, that one. Yeah, you won't get everything, but you tend to get a lot of stuff. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you can also use ultimates. If you've got an AoE ultimate, hit these guys with your Stampede, and then you come over here and hit these. Oh yeah, they're already dead, but hit these guys with your ultimate. That's why you want an AoE skill, because people kill those people early. Sometimes. Like, they have low health, so you want to attack them very quickly. Because there's 3, it's like kind of hard to hit them with a Restoration Staff all at once. Yeah, as you can see here, Path of Darkness getting a little bit of XP as you go. Alright, and then we just go back to that one there. So when you get into the zone after doing like a dolmen, after doing a dungeon, and you want to know which one's up, just wait a second, just watch the Dolmen, just watch the map when you get here, and then whichever one's up next, it will come up with this icon here. This one shows like the twin swords icon. As soon as you see that, just go there. Just understand sometimes when you get into the zone, it'll like be almost done, and by the time you get there, it'll complete. But just rule of thumb, wherever you see that, just go to that one. Alright, so now I'll get ready for a dungeon. So like I said before, you just want to make sure you have Silver Leash if you want to tank, because otherwise you're going to queue as a fake tank and you will piss people off. I despise people who queue as a fake tank. When you can just literally use this and do your job. Like it takes you 30 minutes on a character and then you're set up for being a tank for the fucking rest of the time. Like, why be that way? Alright, so let me queue now. Alright, so jumping in. Got a fucking max CP player here, so this is probably going to happen pretty quick. The first thing you want to do is just stick around, look for the tankiest people first, get them, or the biggest targets. And then just use Silver Leash to pull in as much as you can. When you see enemies just in the distance, just pull them in. You don't have to pull everything in, but it's good to. Okay. So Arc's Cranium's a pretty annoying one. So you'll find that people just rush through, especially in double XP events, because yeah, look at this fucking guy, he's already at the boss. Just don't worry, just take your time. There's no rush. Alright, so we're gonna put our food on. Now don't, obviously, as I said before, don't use your XP scroll until the end. Grab the boss, keep him turned around, grab this guy as well. So heavy attack to get your stamina back, because it's really quick. Grab this guy as well. And easy done. Grab everything that you can. I don't have much inventory space, but that's fine. I don't need anything in here, so yeah, just make sure your inventory space isn't crazy. Oh yeah, still got my restoration stuff. I'll change that. Alright, so here, you see this guy in the background. Just grab them. See this guy in the background. Grab them. We've got a really tanky person here, so alright, so just quickly put this. Oh god. Okay, so when you get into combat, you can't change anything, so just do it now. Yeah, okay. Good to have a destruction staff in here because you can spam Ball of Elements, which is just like a really good spammable AoE skill for the early game. And as soon as you get to a boss, just grab them with Silver Leash, taunt them, turn them around from the group. Just put all your dots down. Full crap, with that. Don't stand in front of this guy because he does like an annoying stun. But yeah, he died too quickly. Yeah, you can get the plunder skulls if you want, but yeah, I already have everything with that. Okay, so sometimes you're going to find that when groups run too quickly, the quests are going to get fucked up. So my advice, if you want to know what the dungeon storylines are, like do a solo one later on in your playtime. But you're just going to find if you try and spend the time trying to do dungeons with just random groups, it's just going to cause all sorts of issues. I don't like doing random normals for any other reason other than XP, because of that reason. Yeah, there are like a few dedicated guilds that can do that sort of thing, but you're gonna find that, especially nowadays, I've struggled to find any that sort of are properly available or like properly still do stuff. There's a lot of guilds I find nowadays are like just sort of not very active. Yep, stick them this way. So the bridge is out over that way, so you need to come down here. The Lurcher here, grab him taunt, this guy with the taunt. It's heavy attack to get some stamina back. Okay, so this boss is a bit weird. So you don't kill this thing, you kill the boss. You completely ignore the little snake thing. Just block that. That hurts. Oh, I mean, it doesn't really hurt, but it knocks you down, which is annoying. Okay, so when she does this, she'll scream, and there's like a big circle that the little snake makes, and it saves you from a like screaming damage over time. That's why you keep the snake alive there. Now, interestingly, you can mount in here. Oh yeah, just make sure this switch is done. Okay, cool. I don't know why this guy's chilling over here. Apparently he's in combat. Yeah, you can mount in here, but you hop off your mount when you get in this bit. So I was just trying to show you that, but apparently we're still in combat. So okay, so now that we've done that, the bridge is back up. Oh, okay, that's why. Hold on. Let's kill this one. Make sure he's okay. Yeah, sometimes people go AFK. It's totally cool. Things come up in... like, because you can't just, like, pause this shit. Sometimes shit happens. Just leave them the benefit of the doubt. Usually they come back. Yeah, just get this guy.
Deal.
Area is down. You got this lurcher boss. Try and interrupt as many of these lamias as you can, because this channel is like an annoying damage resistance thing that they get. This guy dies pretty quick. He's got like a beam that he puts on people, and it's like it does a bit of damage. Just heal through that if you can. Yeah, I don't really need that. When you're out of stamina, just heavy attack. That's why I run greatsword, because the heavy attack's like super duper quick. Okay, when you get here, just make sure you talk to this person. Usually they follow you in here anyway, though. Okay, so this is one of the... on veteran, I fucking hate this boss, because she just loses taunt constantly, and especially if you don't have a healer, it's an absolute nightmare. Alright, so if you can, keep her in the water, because although it does constant damage over time, otherwise, if she's on the land, she gets a shield, and it's really irritating. Okay, so make sure you've got your XP scroll on your bar, and when she hits like low health, use it. Okay, so we'll use it now. Okay, cool. And then swap to greatsword, so my back bar gets some XP, and that's it. And now we say, thanks for group, and now we leave. Oh yeah, sorry. This is why you want to make sure your inventory's not full. If your inventory's full, just delete something. Doesn't take long. And dismiss. And we're out of here. I don't know why we're still in combat. That's annoying. Bloody out of combat bug. Alright, so as soon as we get back, make a hightail to the merchant and sell everything that you don't need. There, like, you can get some like intricate stuff, but personally, I just like to sell everything, make a bit of gold, and then get to dolmen farming. It's okay. Sell that now that I don't need it anymore. I just want to talk about that first. Yeah, sell that stuff, I don't need it. A couple of blood skulls. Yeah, that should be right now. Okay, and now we go to Dolmens for an hour. Like I said, it's not going to be for everyone, but this is like a really chill way for me. Alright, so now we go straight back to Dolmens, put your restoration stuff on, and go nuts. You got an hour of 150 XP, or whatever scroll that you use, and you just use that to get as much XP as you can in an hour. With this, I can usually get 10 levels if I just if I use it just at the end of a dungeon run. Don't now I prefer not to worry about like picking up stuff. If you run out of inventory, just like don't worry. When you're leveling, there's not really anything meaningful that you're going to get from this sort of stuff. So personally, I just don't worry about it. Get twisting path now that I can. So now I can do both sides. Alright, get that, and then run. So now we go back to the start, because it's south and north, the Dolmens for this place. The Deshaan ones are... Oh, sorry, no. I'll talk about these. So, Deshaan, it is west to east, so it'll be west, center, and then east, and then we'll go back to west. And then Alakir Desert, it is, I believe it's also west to east. So yeah, worth keeping in mind as well. Come here. Dolmens coming up now. Watch out for the imp on that side. You can bring them with you if you want, but usually they de-aggro when you get in, so it's kind of not very valuable. Alright, pushing path down. Put as many AoEs as you can on the floor, so that when enemies pop up, you can catch them. But I find AoEs to be a little bit unreliable. I find light attacks to be the goat. So yeah, that's my method for how I level up characters. I literally just do that over and over and over. Now I can obviously, like I said before, I don't know if this is a guide or not, but I've leveled 50 characters to max, so you know, it works for me. If it works for you, great. If not, that's cool. It's not for everyone. But yeah, for now, that's everything. If you've got any questions for me about any of this stuff, just ask in the comments, and I'll answer you. I don't buy it. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you for your support as always, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Destroy this anger, and scores more will take its place. My subjects failed me. They deserve to be destroyed.